All right now, Atlanta. Y'all need to beware. I'm going to tell it to you straight. Tiffany Henyard is not our problem to inherit. Okay, I'm going to just say something real clearly to the people of Fulton County. Just because somebody moves to Atlanta and suddenly becomes a Republican, or at least chooses to run as one, that does not mean that you are obligated to roll out the red carpet and just hand them political power. And if you do, you're stupid. I'm going to just say it. Why? Because some folks do not come to Atlanta to build. A.T. Hell, as I like to call it. We have a bad reputation for being home to a lot of scammers. And a lot of scammers come here to hustle, right? They come here to reinvent themselves after scandal and to rebrand their corruption. They come here to find a new group of voters that they think are stupid enough to fall for the same scam twice. And right now, okay, y'all have probably heard the news.
Well, WGN Investigates has learned Tiffany Henyard is not done with politics just yet. The former South Suburban politician has moved to Georgia and appears to be running for office there. The local board of elections says Tiffany A. Henyard has qualified to run for a district commissioner's job in Fulton County. Henyard did not respond to a request for comment, though. The county includes Atlanta and surrounding suburbs. The longtime Democrat is running as a Republican, will not face any opponents in the primary. The district is heavily Democratic, and 4 candidates are vying for that nomination.
This is somebody who hasn't had much of a chance to establish roots, and she's going to be running against people who have far deeper roots in the community. And so that might actually end up being what is her undoing. It may not be because of her scandalous past, but it may be she hasn't lived long enough in this district.
And there are also questions about whether Henyard has lived in Georgia long enough to hold office. Also today, Henyard lost a $10,000 judgment in a rent dispute with her former landlord back in Dolton. You can read all about it at WGNTV.com/investigates.
We have a former Illinois politician with a very long trail of controversy, investigations, chaos, and scandal. She has decided that Atlanta might be her next political opportunity. Y'all know who it is. It's Tiffany Henyard, the super mayor from Dolton, Illinois. And if you live in Fulton County, you better start asking some questions right now, okay? Because if you elect a political hustler to the Fulton County Commission, then I don't want to hear nothing. Do not complain when the same circus that happened in Illinois shows up right here in Georgia. And trust me, okay, y'all don't need no help in this area. So let's get into this. Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman, and welcome to the show. All right, y'all. We got to talk about it. We have got to talk about something that it just hit my radar, and I kind of knew it was coming. And quite frankly, it really should be on every conservative's radar in the state. If you haven't heard the news by now, former Dolton, Illinois mayor Tiffany Henyard, the super mayor, okay? She's moved to Atlanta, and she's been here for a couple of months now. But she is reportedly seeking to run for political office in Fulton County. Now, before we go any further, y'all, I need to tell y'all something that happened recently, because I actually didn't meet, but I saw Tiffany Henyard in person. About a week ago, there was a masquerade ball, and it was the Georgia Black Conservatives had their masquerade ball, and I was there. Great event, great people, lots of conservatives in the room. And guess who I spotted there? Actually, my husband spotted her first, and then a couple of other people came up to me and was like, Tiffany Henyard's here, Tiffany Henyard's here. And I was like, oh, okay.
Child's path looks the same, but that's a strength. Every path must
didn't exchange any pleasantries. We didn't shake hands. We didn't talk at all. But please believe me, I saw her with my own eyes. And the moment I saw her, my antenna immediately went up. I said, this is interesting. This is a Black conservative Republican event. And I hope y'all don't think I'm not a messy person. I'm too old for that. I'm somebody's mama. I'm grown. Okay. And it's not that I believe that people can't change. That's not my issue. I'm a Christian, and I believe that people can be born again and regenerated of the Spirit and get a new heart. And the person you once were is not the person you are today. I believe that as a deeply held conviction. And so it's not that I believe that anyone is beyond redemption. No. My antenna went up because, y'all, I've spent a lot of time talking about something that y'all heard me say on this channel. I've talked about the EBT Republicans. And there is a rise of this EBT Republican class. And it's these people that show up in the conservative movement. And it's not because they believe in conservative values. No, it's because they believe that conservatives are the next group that they can exploit. And what they do is they treat politics like government assistance. They don't really want to build anything. They bring their leftist Democrat antics over to the Republican Party. And instead of begging the government as a Democrat, they come over here making promises and start begging the government as a Republican. And they start offering free stuff and things. And it's a very maternalistic mindset. And I just don't believe there's room or space in the GOP for such a mindset. So I'm talking about it, right? These individuals, they don't understand or even have a desire to defend liberty or to protect the Constitution. No, they just want access to money and influence. And they believe that naive voters will accept anyone waving a membership card to the Republican Party. It's what I call these fifth column conservatives. They're these individuals. They'll infiltrate the movement, not to strengthen it or to add value, but to use it for their own benefits. Kind of like what Democrats do, but they come over here on the right to do it. And so when I see someone with Tiffany Henyard's history, mind you, I'm not talking about history from 50, 111 years ago. I'm talking about like history like last year, right? Who suddenly trying to reinvent themselves politically in my state. Oh, my response is very simple. Not so fast, boo-boo. Slow your roll. You're doing team too much too fast, and we see you. That's what I'm saying. And so we have in the state, but particularly in Metro Atlanta, we have a character problem. Okay. And a lot of people who are originally from Atlanta, I can see why you would be offended by this statement, because it's almost like I'm painting your city in a disparaging way as a transplant, meaning someone who was not born here, but I've raised my children here and I've been here almost 30 years. But I'm going to say it, and it's not because I believe it's reflective of people who are originally from here. It's based on what I believe Atlanta has become an attraction magnet for. I've been here long enough, and I've seen regime change after regime change, and I've seen the city metamorphosize and transform into something I don't like. And this city has become a magnet for scammers. It's just true. If you want to run a shady business, if you want to run a pyramid scheme, okay, particularly, yes, lots of those, right? If you want to start a fake nonprofit or reinvent yourself after you've destroyed your entire reputation somewhere else, Atlanta is often the place that people come to start over and start hustling again or in a different way. And so now we're watching a politician with major, not a little bit, I'm talking major credibility issues in Illinois, pack up hell and haul off with record-breaking speed, move down here to Georgia, and then suddenly she sets her sights on Fulton County politics. I'm sorry. No. That should concern every single voter in this state. And Black folks, just because somebody looks like you doesn't mean that they've earned the credibility for you to garner and give them your support. There's a massive credibility issue here. That's the elephant in the room. Tiffany Henyard has a credibility problem. There have been financial controversies, lawsuits, ethics investigations, and even the FBI scrutiny that is currently surrounding her time in office. So if we're just going to think logically about this, if you have that many questions surrounding your leadership, you got that many unresolved issues tied to your political career, why in the world would your next step be to run for political office somewhere else? I will tell you why. Because politics is a grift. It just is. For some people, politics is not public service. And hear me clearly, I understand she can tout as part of her record all of the things she's done for the people. Basically giving out the food and it's the EBT. It's the EBT politics. It's me just give a little free stuff while I'm over here doing my thing. Politics is the hustle. It is. She has spent a lot of time saying nobody did more for the people than me, while the other half or the other side of her was taking and spending their money inappropriately and enriching herself. So, just because you say nice things about Republicans, that's not enough for me. We appreciate you acknowledging that we're doing a good job. It's because there is a worldview and an ideology that undergirds our politics, so it does just make sense to most people. But the thing that concerns me is that sometimes all it takes in conservative circles is for someone to say one or two nice things about Republicans, especially if they Black, and then suddenly people start treating them like they're a superhero. Absolutely not. Just because someone praises Republicans does not mean that they believe in conservative principles. This is a worldview issue. Just because someone criticizes Democrats, and rightfully so, it still doesn't mean that they share our values. Okay? Y'all remember Scamdis Owens? Yeah, exactly. She's still out here and people thinking she's conservative. No, the conservative movement, we've been burned before by people who knew how to talk the talk, but they never intended to walk the walk. So when I see somebody with an incredibly controversial past suddenly trying to rebrand themselves politically, I'm not applauding. I'm asking questions. I'm being sober-minded and I got my head on the swivel. I see you. And so for those who might be asking, April, it sounds like you are gatekeeping. I sure am. Yes, I am. You are absolutely right. You would ascertain correctly. I am gatekeeping. And do you want to know why? It's because movements collapse when the standards are abandoned. And I'm not about to let that happen on my watch. Character matters. How we got into this situation is because we looked character and put it aside along with the integrity and along with the bad track record. And we just voted for the okie doke because they looked like us. If someone has spent years creating chaos, mismanaging their power, leaving destruction everywhere they go, why would I assume that suddenly they've become some principled conservative overnight? That makes no sense. Okay? Even the Apostle Paul had to demonstrate to the people, you claim you was one of us, but last week you was persecuting the faith. So we need some time. Well, we extend the right hand of fellowship to you, Paul. We need to know, who is this Christ that you're now advocating for? Do you really know him? Like, I'm just saying. And y'all know me. I'm very honest. If I had to have a conversation with Tiffany, we would have the conversation. Because I'm just one of those people. I'm going to say what I believe in the most direct way possible. Based on what I've seen from Tiffany Henyard's public conduct in the past. I don't know her personally. I'm talking about public things. In my opinion, she represents the exact type of leadership that I keep warning y'all about, and this is the orangutan. It's the female imbecile who cannot manage her misery, and she can't manage her own chaos. She spreads dysfunction everywhere she goes. And Fulton County deserves better than that. We already got an orangutan in office. We got Fonnie Willis, and y'all have reelected her twice. So the warning to Fulton is very simple. You guys need to vote wisely, and you really need to strongly consider how if someone shows up in your community with a trail of scandal and it's a cloud of investigation, and then suddenly they have a new political identity, you need to ask yourself a very simple question. Is this person here to serve the people, or are they here to run the same scam in a new zip code? Because if Fulton County voters, if you elect someone with that kind of track record, then I'm sorry, unfortunately, you get exactly what you voted for. The blood is on your hands. So I'll close with this. Atlanta does not need, we don't need another political hustler. We got enough of those. Trust me. We are stocked to the rim with them. Okay. What we need are leaders with character, conviction, and some credibility. And if someone destroyed all of that somewhere else, don't expect Georgia voters to just forget that history just because you changed your address. That would be stupid of us to do that. And so I'm curious to know from you guys. What do you think? First of all, if you enjoyed today's episode, I need you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. But tell me your thoughts. Do you think that Tiffany Henyard deserves another chance in politics? You know, why not? Let's give her a chance, Fulton County. Or if you like, listen, Fulton County needs to proceed with caution, like extreme caution. Not because we don't believe people can't change, but because we be like, it's too soon, sis. It's too soon. We have no confidence in believing that you've learned from anything. And we just need to see the result and the outcome of what happened to you up in Dolton before we remotely think about giving you an opportunity. So let me know your thoughts down in the description box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable.